the cement pads are down, the baskets are not up, but I'm going to show you guys the 5 extra holes that they're adding to Black Locust South to make the 2026 Worlds course, prepping for the championship. So first of all, those of you might remember, the Black Locust course now is on the opposite side of the road as the original OG course, which was near the beach. So all 5 of these new holes are being set up near the beach, and the pads are out right now if you want to check them out. So I don't know what order number they're in, but I'm going to show you the pads and what the hole layouts are. So the planned redesign is that Black Locust South, they're lengthening 13 of the holes, and they're adding these 5 new ones on to the new course to make a full 18. The structure is that there's 2 that are open park, like totally open holes, and then there's 3 that are in the woods, and the ones that are routed in the woods are pretty sweet. So that's the entrance to Kensington, and then right underneath this tree, so I'm assuming based on the layout that this is the longs. So the viewpoint here, we've got a huge tree up on the right, and we've got this huge bubble change of terrain. Big open field shot. And the reason that I think that is that what I believe to be the short tee pad is all the way down here. Big open hole straight down that way, all the way to the end of the fairway, right next to a parking lot. For the OGs who used to play on the Kensington course way back when, you know that this particular field is where the practice basket used to be. So if they decide to set this up as that's the basket all the way at the end, this becomes a pretty cool nostalgic hole. In a month is going to be the Flex tournament, which is where we're going to actually play the course to preview what the World's course is going to be. Here's where I'm a little bit nervous, where I'm wondering. Now all of these holes, or these 2 holes, are set up right next to a giant parking lot and right next to a road. So whereas the Kensington community was insulated from not professional disc golfers before, potentially there's going to be some people getting hit by discs. Just saying. If I'm right that this is where the basket's going to go, then this would make this a 405-foot hole from the shorts, and I think the longs adds probably another 200 feet on, so that would make it a 600-foot straight hole for the pros and 400 for AMs. Now I assume that that hole is going to be where this starts. What I'm thinking is going to happen is these are going to be tacked on to the end of the previous 18. You have to go across the road, follow that trail. There's a nice trail cut. That'll be hole number 1, big open field. And then number 2, so if that's Black Locust, this is the driveway that leads you over to Martindale Beach. For those of you who remember, the original tee pad on the old course used to be right over here. So you have to follow this up and around between the road and here, and you'll find the MPO tee pad right at the top. And if you go down a little bit more, we'll find the FPO pad. Just give you some more landmarks. There's a Martindale Beach sign if you're heading towards the exit. And then right here is the MPO pad. And that's gonna launch you down. This second hole is an absolute monster. They do have a flag towards the end of this hole. I'm gonna try to range find the whole thing for you. The thing is enormous. And then you'll see the fairway wraps all the way down into the right, and we get to the FPO pad. And here's a view from the FPO pad. So this FPO pad is 263 feet in front of the MPO pad. So we've got some options. If the basket is right here, this is gonna be 263 from FPO and 500 from MPO. However, I think this hole is set up to be really challenging. So if we go down here, I think the other options for the basket to be here, which is make this about 600. But we found a little pathway up here. If you keep going on the right, you will find a little path that goes uphill. So at this point, we've got a big right turn. 500 feet out is this big landing spot if you're MPO, right? totally reachable for the pros. And then if you go up to the right, we found a flag at the top of this hill. But if you get all the way up here, you're gonna see these little orange flags right there. So if this is the basket marker, which you can see, this is a nice little open area here, then this would make this hole almost 1,200 feet, hole number 2. And the reason why we think that this is the basket marker is that they've been doing surgery on Black Locust South for a little while now. And before they ever put the baskets in, they used those little markers to mark the baskets they were putting in, and there's now new baskets there. So we are pretty confident that this second hole is just a monster 1,100, 1,200 foot long hole, and that's the basket. So moving on to the next one, we just came up from there. There's the basket, we believe. And then if you walk up this trail, we can get you to what I believe is the third. There she is. For those who played the OG course, this third is going to be really reminiscent, because if you're standing on the pad and it's shooting straight over this little creek, down there is the tunnel. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like the tunnel is going to be in play, and it seems like this shot's going to be pretty short. Here's the view from the pad, and it looks like this is more of a terrain shot. So really small gap. We think that the basket is going to be right out in the open right there. So this would make this 250 feet. If you can shoot the gap, if you don't shoot the gap, you end up way down inside this stuff. One of the ways we found this is they've been doing surgery is there's all these little yellow tags around different things around the course. And what we found is they've been doing construction on Black Locust South. Is anytime you see a yellow tag on something, it means they're taking it out. So if you're walking this course, you can see how they're going to modify the terrain. There's another yellow flag. So that skinny little tree will be taken out. And then you can see, here's the tunnel. So you've got this beautiful piece of scenery. And then here's the elevation change. There's another little yellow tag. So they still have a lot of cleaning up to do back here. And then we believe that this will be the location of the next basket, right on this little flat. So again, poor bystanders, it brings cars into play. But we think this is where the basket's gonna go. So now that we've gotten here, the route to the next tee pad is a little bit harder to find. It's gonna be straight through this area. So you're gonna come back kind of in the direction of the tee pad, but head right. And there's gonna be a big path. Woo, the bugs. There's gonna be a big path that's gonna take you to the next one. And here we have it. Another tee. This is the MPO tee. This is gonna take us straight up, and then this hole wraps straight up to there and then goes left. So for MPO players, they've got this big group of trees right here. They can go either left or right. Right would be extremely tricky, so I think it's intended for them to go left, and I'll show you why. Here is the FPO pad. This is 133 feet in front of the MPO pad. However, this changes the course pretty dramatically. There's a really narrow gap here in front. So if you're playing from the MPO, you've got to launch it around this big group of trees right here. The bugs. Got to launch it around this big group of trees right here, and then somehow thread this needle to get it into this big open area. That open area is 250 feet away from the edge of this pad. This big open relief area is 250 feet away from the FPO pad and about 350 from the MPO. So it's big open, and then the next shot is to go right, and you would go straight through that. There's another needle that you got to be able to thread straight through here, and we believe that the next basket is going to be on the other side of that needle. So here's the next big open relief area. So on this hole, if you're MPO, you've got 2 needles that you have to thread, 1 big relief area, second area opens up again, and then this is another 250 feet out. So total for the pros on this would be about 700 feet. And we think, there's no flags here, but we think that they're gonna try to put the basket probably right behind these trees to cage it out again. So you've got a really, really tricky shot here. So there's the cage, this is the cage of trees. And then this area is all rounded out. So we think the basket's gonna go here. So sorry, that would add about another probably 100 feet from where your range found. So this would be 750 to 800 foot hole from the longs, and then about 500 feet from the shorts. Guys, I literally just found the last tee pad. Just found it. Super excited. All right, so this is how you're gonna get to it. So this relief zone that we just talked about is kind of up here, and there's a big circle. So in order to get to the last tee pad, which is on the water, by the way, you have to come back a little bit, and there's this cutout that goes past the trail and takes you down by the water. I'm gonna be honest, I got mixed feelings about this hole. So it's beautiful that they brought the water element into the Kensington course. However, these pads are now right on the beach where campers, sorry, not campers, but park goers hang out. So I'm not sure how this is gonna work. You can see there's picnic tables strewn all over, like people are used to being here. So this hole potentially turns into one where we have to worry about the hazard of people here, which makes it really difficult to accept in tournament play. So I don't know if they're planning on taking these particular holes and just leaving the old course like it is and giving this as an optional route. I could see them doing that for tournament play to make it really difficult, but I do not like that these tee pads are permanently planted where there's a pavilion and all that other stuff. So we're gonna try to range find this, find out where we think the basket's gonna actually be. So if this is the FPO pad, it's 133 feet in front of the MPO pad. I don't see any yellow tags on the trees on the other side, so I don't think this is like a tricky over the water hole. I also don't see any signs of them clearing out brush. Well, there are no signs of any flags anywhere indicating where a basket might be, but if we stopped right here just before we get to the beach, this would make this a 346 foot MPO hole. I guess it'd be an easy 3 for the pros, and it would make it a almost 500 foot straight shot for those guys. So either way, I think this hole is kind of disappointing. I like how they tried to get the scenery in here, but in my opinion, the placement for casual play sucks because you're always going to have people out here in the way of discs. But come out here, walk the Black Locust South, go check out the holes. You actually find, we've been finding some old torn up discs on it that are, from 15, 20 years ago. We found an old Kong that was all torn up out there. So you can find some pretty cool stuff right now. But check it out, check out Black Locust South, see the renos that they're doing on the course. See you out there.